Managing Director of UTI Asset Management Company, joining us to tell us how this might play out. Good morning, Mr. Puri. Thank you yet again for joining us. Now that you would have read the Reserve Bank's circular, I'm particularly interested in that clause 5, where the RBI says that it will have a framework which will decide the principles on which cases will be sent to insolvency. Is that something that might, I mean, how will that play out? Will some indebted companies be in trouble?
Yeah, there are two dimensions to this problem. One is a long-term issue around architecture of paralyzed financial system and so on. And the other is a very pressing tactical need to avoid what could otherwise be a slow-motion train wreck in the public sector banks. And I think I'd focus on the second right now, because the first we probably don't have enough time for. But what you have here is a very good first step, which is an attempt to prototype an approach to resolution top-down. Of course, if we had a clean sheet, we could all design better solutions around para or asset reconstruction, but the political economy is perhaps not ready for all this. So what you have, and I welcome this, is an attempt to say there will be a mandate given to an agency, and for better or worse, that is the RBI. And yes, I know there are issues and debates around conflict of interest, but I'm assuming the RBI is aware of that and will set up mechanisms to deal with that issue. But for now, it is the RBI which has been given a mandate for coordination to use all of the tools that have been generated over the last few years. Corporate debt restructuring, S4A, and this notion now of flexible restructuring, to use the framework created by the Insolvency Act, very important new initiative taken by this government as well. Now, with all of this firepower, we have still not been able to demonstrate in a sizable, impactful way a successful approach to resolution. So I am optimistic that what you have here is a mandate to say, can you, in this context, with this set of tools, prototype an approach to resolution which will actually re-establish some confidence that our financial system can dig its way out of the mess. Just one more point on that, on the urgency of this. We already have maybe 10 or 12 lakh crore stressed assets in the bank's books. This, by the way, is threefold where it was when the government actually came to power. And you're in an economy which has very low nominal growth rates now. So the old trick of essentially growing our way out of the problem or muddling through is not available to us in this environment. That's how we've dealt with this in the past. So we're in uncharted territory where we do not have the resources to simply recapitalize the banks yet, and that may happen later, but I hope not. But for now, we are resisting that. And yet we have not been able, despite all of the rearranging of chairs on the Titanic, if you like, that has happened through all these measures. So far, we've not been able to achieve resolution at a meaningful level. So this is about resolution, and I'm hopeful that the RBI will be able to carry this with urgency.
Mr. Puri, urgency, I guess, is the key word here, because the need of the hour is not resolution as much as fast-tracking of, these long pending decisions on stress resolution. How long do you think all this could take?
Yeah, well, it's both. Obviously, urgency implies resolution. I would submit we have not had any resolution that is meaningful. We've simply had muddling through and fudge and restructuring, which is not really resolution. Resolution does fundamentally require the establishment of viable businesses. Establishment of viable businesses means the pain has been now shared in a way that has resulted in haircuts being taken, perhaps a change of ownership, and the re-establishment of a business with a future revenue model attached to it. We still have all the stranded assets stuck in the system exactly where they were. Essentially, what we've done is kick the can down the road. So yes, you need both. You need urgency and you need resolution. This is a ticking, time bomb in a sense now. We're not going to be able to muddle our way through in a low inflation, low nominal growth environment as we've done in the past. So here we are. Do we sacrifice future GDP growth and postpone the return of the investment cycle, or do we kickstart it now?
Mr. Puri, what we would like to know from you is, do you see any of those big cases, an SR Steel, Bush and Steel variety, resolved in the next 1 year? Or do you think any of the large indebted companies would be sent to insolvency? Either ways, in say 1 year, in 15 months, is there a solution at hand?
Well, Lata, my perception is that the precise reason for this ordinance is to prototype precisely such a case. We have not been successful so far. We had an attempt with things like electro-steel. I think they were good attempts, but they had not really reached any conclusion. So what the question you've asked is obviously a question to put to the RBI, and that's the mandate that I believe has been given to the RBI, which is establish a prototype. They're not going to be able to solve this problem entirely on day one on their own, but let us see how, given all the tools we have, given the coordinating powers that have now been entrusted to the RBI, and I think its credibility will be on the line somewhat here. It will have access to skills, it will have access to asset reconstruction companies, private equity players, rating agencies. The entire range of the capital markets and private capital is available and can be utilized to support this process. You have the support from legislation in the form of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code now. So can we essentially architect and prototype a solution which will get the ball rolling and re-establish conviction that we know how to deal with this? I certainly, this is the best shot that I think we've had. It has a lot of flaws and it's easy to be critical at this juncture. But for now, I would say let's give the benefit of the doubt. Of course, the jury is still out and so on. But this is a very good attempt, I think, at forcing us to prototype solutions now with some urgency.
We will look forward with